Okay, let me ask something that might make people a little uncomfortable.
That already sounds dangerous. Go ahead.
Have you ever walked into a new job and immediately felt like everyone else knew exactly what they were doing except you?
Yes. That quiet moment when you're sitting there pretending you understand everything.
Exactly. And nobody says anything out loud, but inside your head there's this pressure building.
Right. The pressure to prove that you belong there.
Yes. And I think the first day at work is one of the moments where comparison hits the hardest, especially if you're learning English.
Because suddenly, English is not just something you study anymore. It's something you use in real life.
Yes, in real time with real people, and your brain goes into survival mode.
Survival mode is a good way to describe it.
You're trying to listen carefully, trying to understand instructions, trying to sound confident, and at the same time your mind is whispering, don't make a mistake, don't sound slow, don't look confused.
Which is interesting because learning English is supposed to be about growth and fluency, but on the first day at work, it suddenly feels like a test.
Exactly. And the test isn't even official. Nobody handed you an exam.
But internally, you're grading yourself every minute.
Yes. Someone explains something quickly and you think, wait, did I understand that?
And instead of asking, many people just nod.
Oh, everyone does that polite nod.
The universal workplace survival strategy.
Yeah, but inside you're thinking, I hope this makes sense later.
And then the comparison starts.
Right. You hear coworkers speaking fast, joking, explaining things easily, and your brain immediately jumps to conclusions.
I'm behind.
I should already be fluent.
I should sound more confident.
And that's where something subtle happens in your mindset. Instead of focusing on building your fluency step by step, you start measuring your progress against everyone else's speed.
Which is a very unfair comparison.
Exactly. Because you don't know their story.
Maybe they've worked there for 5 years.
Maybe English is their first language.
Maybe they were nervous on their first day too.
That's something people forget.
What?
Everyone looks confident on day 2.
That's true.
But nobody remembers how they felt on day 1.
And day 1 is usually full of vulnerability.
Yes, and vulnerability is uncomfortable, but it's also part of growth.
That's an important point, because a lot of people believe confidence must come first.
Like, when I feel confident, then I'll speak more.
But in reality, confidence usually comes after.
Yes, after the awkward moments.
After the slow progress.
After the small misunderstandings.
Which are actually normal in English learning.
Very normal. But on the first day at work, your brain interprets those moments as failure instead of building.
Building is a better word.
Because fluency isn't something that suddenly appears. It accumulates, conversation by conversation, situation by situation.
And the workplace becomes one of the most powerful environments for that growth.
Exactly. Even the uncomfortable moments are helping your brain adapt.
Your listening improves.
Your vocabulary expands.
Your confidence slowly forms.
But none of that feels visible in the beginning.
Which is why people think they're not improving.
Yes, because slow progress feels invisible.
And the brain likes quick results.
But language doesn't work like that.
No, language works through exposure.
Through repetition.
Through vulnerability.
That word again.
Yeah.
Because showing up on the first day, speaking even when you feel unsure, that's vulnerability.
But it's also courage.
Exactly. And maybe the real question isn't, was my English perfect today?
Maybe the better question is, did I show up anyway?
Did I try to understand?
Did I ask one question?
Did I participate even a little?
Because that's how fluency is built.
Slowly.
Quietly.
And often in moments where you feel unsure.
Which means if someone listening right now is remembering their first day at work, feeling that pressure again,
maybe it's worth asking yourself something.
What's that?
What if the discomfort wasn't a sign you were failing?
But a sign that your growth had already started.
That's an interesting way to see it.
And maybe that's where the real conversation begins.
Yeah, because the first day at work isn't just about tasks and introductions.
It's also about identity.
About who you think you are when you walk into a new space.
And who you slowly become as your confidence grows.
Which is something we should probably explore next.
Yeah, because that shift in mindset changes everything.
Especially for people building fluency while navigating real-life situations.
And that's where things start getting interesting.
So, after that first moment of pressure we talked about, something else usually happens on the first day at work.
The moment when you suddenly become very aware of yourself.
Exactly. Almost like you're watching yourself from the outside.
Yes, that strange feeling where you start noticing every little thing you do. How you speak, how you walk, even how you say good morning.
And suddenly something very simple becomes stressful,
Talking.
especially in English.
Yes, because when you're learning a language, speaking isn't automatic yet. Your brain is working in the background the entire time.
Translating, choosing words, adjusting pronunciation.
And doing all of that while other people are looking at you.
Which creates a kind of pressure that people don't expect before their first day.
Right, because before starting the job, most people worry about tasks.
The work itself.
But the emotional challenge is different. It's communication.
And communication is where fluency, confidence, and vulnerability collide.
That's a good word, collide.
Because sometimes you want to sound confident.
But inside you feel unsure.
Exactly. Someone asks you a simple question like, "How was your weekend?"
And suddenly your brain freezes for a second.
Not because you don't understand the question.
But because you're calculating the answer.
Grammar,
Vocabulary.
sentence structure.
And while that's happening, there's this silent fear in the background.
The fear of sounding slow.
Or worse, sounding like you don't understand.
Which is interesting because most people around you aren't analyzing your English nearly as much as you think.
Oh, not even close.
But when you're learning English, your internal comparison becomes very loud.
Yes, you hear someone else speaking quickly and smoothly.
And your brain immediately measures your own fluency against theirs.
That's the dangerous moment.
Why dangerous?
Because comparison doesn't show the full story. It only shows the result.
Not the process behind it.
Exactly. You hear someone speaking confidently and think, they're so fluent.
But you didn't see their slow progress.
The years of building.
The uncomfortable conversations.
The mistakes they made.
The awkward first days.
And every fluent speaker has those stories.
Every single one.
But when you're new somewhere, it's easy to believe you're the only one struggling.
That feeling of being the slowest person in the room.
Yes, even if that's not true.
And that's where mindset becomes extremely important.
Because if your mindset is based on comparison,
Your progress will always feel too slow.
but if your mindset shifts to building,
Then every small interaction becomes part of your growth.
exactly, saying one sentence,
Asking one question.
understanding one explanation.
Those are building blocks of fluency.
But the brain rarely celebrates those moments.
No, it focuses on what felt uncomfortable instead.
That's true.
For example, you might spend the entire morning understanding meetings,
But the one moment you couldn't find a word stays in your head.
and that single moment becomes your whole story for the day.
I sounded stupid.
My English is bad.
Everyone noticed.
Even though none of that may actually be true.
Exactly. The mind edits reality,
It highlights mistakes and hides progress.
which slowly affects confidence.
And confidence is a huge part of fluency.
Yes, because language is not just knowledge, it's courage.
The courage to speak even when your sentence isn't perfect.
The courage to participate even when you feel behind.
And that's something many learners underestimate.
What do you mean?
They think fluency comes from studying alone,
But it also comes from exposure,
from showing up in real situations.
like the first day at work.
Exactly.
Which means the uncomfortable moments are not proof that you're failing.
They're proof that you're actually inside the learning process.
That's interesting.
Because English learning changes completely once it enters real life.
It stops being theory,
It becomes experience.
and experience always includes vulnerability.
Always.
So maybe the real challenge on the first day at work isn't speaking perfect English.
Maybe it's accepting that fluency is still building,
Slowly,
quietly.
conversation by conversation.
And that realization changes how you see those first interactions.
Yes, instead of thinking everyone is watching my mistakes,
You start thinking, I'm practicing in real life.
that shift alone can change the entire experience.
And that leads us to something interesting.
What's that?
The moment when learners stop worrying about sounding perfect.
And start worrying about something else entirely.
The fear of asking questions.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yes, because that's where pressure, confidence, and vulnerability meet again.
And that might be one of the most important moments on the first day at work.
Yeah, we should talk about that next. So, we ended the last part talking about something interesting.
The fear of asking questions.
Yes. And I think this moment appears on almost every first day at work.
The moment when you don't understand something, but you hesitate to say it.
Exactly. Someone explains a task, a process, maybe even a simple instruction. And inside your head, there's this pause.
That tiny moment where you ask yourself, did I understand this, or did I just think I understood it?
Right. And then comes the second thought.
The dangerous one.
If I ask again, maybe they'll think my English is bad.
Yes, that thought shows up very fast.
And it creates a kind of internal pressure that has nothing to do with the job itself.
It's the pressure of perception.
Exactly. The fear of how others might interpret your fluency.
And the strange part is that asking questions is actually a sign of engagement.
In many workplaces, it's even encouraged.
But when you're learning English, vulnerability feels much bigger.
Because asking a question exposes something.
Yes, it exposes that you're still building your understanding.
And for some learners, that feels uncomfortable.
Especially if comparison is already happening in their mind.
Right. If you already believe everyone else is faster or more confident.
Then asking a question can feel like confirming that fear.
Even though it's actually part of the learning process.
Exactly. Growth often begins with questions.
Not with perfect answers.
But the mindset of many learners is the opposite.
They believe fluency means never needing clarification.
Which is impossible, even for native speakers.
That's very true.
People forget that language is messy.
Context changes.
Accents change.
Work environments have their own vocabulary.
Yes, every workplace has its own language culture.
Internal terms.
Abbreviations.
Processes that only make sense after you've been there for a while.
So even someone with strong English skills may feel lost on the first day.
Exactly. But learners often assume that confusion means failure.
And that belief quietly affects confidence.
Because instead of seeing confusion as part of building fluency.
They interpret it as proof that they're behind.
And that's where the silence begins.
Yes, the dangerous silence.
The moment when someone chooses not to ask.
Not because they don't care.
But because they don't want to expose vulnerability.
And ironically, that silence can slow progress even more.
Exactly. Because clarity is one of the fastest ways to grow.
Asking a simple question can remove hours of uncertainty.
And it also builds confidence over time.
Yes, the first question feels difficult.
The second one feels easier.
And slowly the fear disappears.
That's how growth works in real environments.
Small steps.
Repeated exposure.
Slow progress that eventually becomes fluency.
But at the beginning, the emotional challenge is real.
Very real.
Because vulnerability feels visible.
Even when it's not.
That's interesting.
What?
Most of the time, coworkers don't interpret questions as weakness.
They interpret them as interest.
Or responsibility.
Exactly. Someone who asks questions usually wants to do the job well.
Which is actually a positive signal.
But when comparison is active in your mind,
your brain tells a different story.
Yes, the internal narrative becomes very harsh.
I should already know this.
Everyone else understands faster.
I shouldn't need to ask again.
And that narrative creates unnecessary pressure.
Which makes English learning harder than it needs to be.
Because pressure affects how the brain processes language.
Anxiety interrupts comprehension.
Confidence supports fluency.
That's a powerful contrast.
Yes, the emotional environment around learning matters more than people realize.
Which means mindset becomes crucial.
If your mindset says questions are part of building,
then curiosity replaces fear.
But if your mindset says questions expose weakness,
then silence replaces growth.
And that difference can shape the entire first week at work.
Not just the first day.
Exactly. Because the first day is only the beginning of a longer adjustment.
A period where fluency slowly adapts to real-life situations.
Meetings.
Instructions.
Small talk.
Workplace culture.
And each of those moments brings a new opportunity for growth.
Even when they feel uncomfortable.
Maybe especially when they feel uncomfortable.
That's usually where the learning happens.
Yes, outside the comfort zone.
But still inside the process.
And that leads us to another interesting part of the first day experience.
The moment when the workday ends.
And you finally have time to think about everything that happened.
The mental replay.
Yes, when your mind starts revisiting conversations.
Analyzing what you said.
What you meant to say.
And what you wish you had said differently.
That moment can be surprisingly intense for English learners.
Yeah, and that's something we should explore next.
So, we ended the last part talking about something many learners experience after the first day at work.
The mental replay.
Yes, that moment when the day is over, you're finally home, everything is quiet,
And your brain starts reviewing the entire day.
Almost like watching a movie of your own conversations.
Exactly.
And usually the scenes your brain chooses are not the comfortable ones.
No, it focuses on the moments that felt uncertain.
The sentence you hesitated on.
The word you couldn't find.
The moment someone asked you something and you needed a second to respond.
And suddenly, those moments feel bigger than they actually were.
Yes, much bigger.
Which is interesting because during the day, many other things probably went well.
You understood instructions.
You followed conversations.
Maybe you even helped with something.
But the brain doesn't always store those moments with the same intensity.
No, it highlights discomfort.
And that's where comparison quietly returns.
Yes, because now your mind begins reconstructing the scene.
Everyone else sounded fluent.
I sounded slow.
They spoke so naturally.
Why can't I do that yet?
And suddenly, the entire day becomes a comparison exercise.
Which is exhausting, honestly.
Very.
Because you're not just remembering the day, you're judging it.
Judging your own performance.
Yes, and many learners turn the first day into a kind of emotional report card.
Even though nobody actually graded them.
Exactly. The pressure is internal.
Which makes it harder to see what really happened.
And what really happens is usually more balanced than the mind believes.
Because growth rarely feels impressive in the moment.
That's such an important point.
Why do you say that?
Because people expect growth to feel like progress.
Like improvement you can clearly see.
Yes, but slow progress rarely feels that way.
It feels subtle.
Quiet.
Sometimes even invisible.
And that's especially true with English learning.
Because fluency builds gradually through exposure.
Through listening.
Through interaction.
Through repetition.
And repetition often feels ordinary.
Or even boring sometimes.
Which makes the brain underestimate its value.
Yes, but in reality, repetition is exactly what builds confidence.
Each interaction teaches your brain something new.
Even if you don't notice it immediately.
For example, maybe during the day you understood an explanation faster than you would have a month ago.
Or maybe you recognized vocabulary that used to confuse you.
Or maybe you answered a question without translating in your head first.
Those moments are signs of fluency building.
But they don't always feel dramatic.
No fireworks.
Just quiet progress.
And when learners compare themselves to people who already sound confident,
that quiet progress becomes invisible.
Which creates the illusion that nothing is improving.
Even though improvement is happening underneath the surface.
That's interesting.
What?
The brain measures speed, but growth measures consistency.
That's a powerful difference.
Yes, because speed invites comparison.
But consistency builds confidence.
And confidence is one of the strongest drivers of fluency.
Exactly. When someone believes they're improving,
they participate more.
They speak more.
They ask questions more easily.
Which accelerates growth even further.
But when comparison dominates the mindset,
confidence shrinks.
And the learner becomes quieter.
Which slows exposure.
And that can make the first days at work feel heavier than they need to be.
Yes, because the learner is carrying two challenges at once.
The job itself.
And the internal narrative about their English.
That internal narrative is powerful.
Very powerful.
Because if your mind keeps saying, I'm behind,
every interaction becomes proof of that story.
But if your mindset shifts to, I'm building,
then every interaction becomes progress.
Even the awkward ones.
Especially the awkward ones.
That's comforting, actually.
It is.
Because it means the uncomfortable moments on the first day weren't wasted.
They were part of the construction process.
Building fluency.
Building confidence.
Building experience in a real environment.
Which is something textbooks can't fully simulate.
Exactly. Real situations shape language in a different way.
And that's why the first day at work is such a meaningful milestone for learners.
Even if it didn't feel perfect.
Maybe especially if it didn't feel perfect.
Yeah.
Because imperfection usually means you are actually participating.
And participation is where growth lives.
Which makes me curious about something.
What's that?
After someone finishes that first day, after the mental replay, after the comparison,
there's still another emotion that often appears.
Yes, a quieter one.
The question of whether they truly belong there.
That feeling of belonging.
Or sometimes the fear of not belonging.
And that's something we should talk about next.
You know, something interesting starts to appear after those first few hours at work.
You mean that quiet question that shows up in your mind?
Exactly. The one that people don't usually say out loud.
Do I actually belong here?
Yes, that one.
That feeling is much more common than people think.
Especially in a new workplace.
And even more when English is not your first language.
Because suddenly you're navigating two challenges at the same time,
Learning the job and expressing yourself in another language.
which can create a strange emotional contrast.
What do you mean?
On one hand, you were hired for a reason.
Yes, someone believed in your skills.
They saw potential.
But on the other hand, the first day might make you feel small.
Exactly, because you're surrounded by people who already understand the environment,
They know the systems,
the routines,
the vocabulary used in that workplace,
and when you're new, everything feels unfamiliar.
which can trigger a quiet comparison again.
They seem so comfortable here.
I feel like I'm still figuring everything out.
And slowly, that comparison becomes something deeper.
The feeling of being an outsider.
Yes, like you're temporarily visiting a place where everyone else already belongs.
But that's an illusion many people experience during transitions.
Because belonging rarely appears immediately.
It grows over time,
Through small interactions,
through repeated presence.
through familiarity.
But on the first day, your brain doesn't yet recognize those future moments,
It only sees the gap between where you are and where others seem to be.
which can feel discouraging if your mindset focuses on comparison.
Yes, because comparison turns normal adjustment into perceived failure.
But if the mindset shifts towards building, the experience changes.
Then the first day becomes something else entirely,
A starting point.
not a judgment.
Exactly. A moment where growth begins, not a moment where fluency must already exist.
And that distinction changes how someone interprets their own progress.
Instead of thinking, I should already feel confident,
They start thinking, confidence will come as I continue showing up.
and showing up repeatedly is what slowly transforms unfamiliar spaces into familiar ones.
That's how belonging forms,
Not through perfection,
through presence,
through conversation,
through shared routines,
and even through the small vulnerable moments we talked about earlier.
asking questions,
Clarifying instructions.
participating in discussions,
Each of those moments contributes to something bigger.
confidence building.
Exactly. Confidence isn't a personality trait you either have or don't have.
It's a structure that forms gradually,
Brick by brick.
interaction by interaction,
And the first day at work is simply the foundation.
which explains why it often feels emotionally intense.
Foundations usually require the most adjustment.
Yes, because everything is new.
New faces,
New expectations,
new communication patterns,
and your brain is processing all of that while still managing English learning.
which is actually a very complex cognitive task.
Yet learners often expect themselves to perform effortlessly,
That expectation creates unnecessary pressure.
because nobody becomes fluent through pressure,
Fluency grows through experience,
through exposure.
through patience with slow progress,
And patience is something many learners struggle with.
especially when comparison keeps showing them people who appear far ahead.
But visible fluency rarely shows the years of building behind it.
Exactly. Every confident speaker you meet today once had their own awkward first day somewhere,
Their own moments of vulnerability,
their own moments of silence while searching for words.
and those moments didn't mean they didn't belong,
They meant they were still building.
which is exactly where many listeners might be right now.
Yes, somewhere in the middle of that construction process,
Not finished yet.
but definitely moving forward.
And sometimes recognizing that is enough to shift the entire mindset
From I don't belong here,
to I'm still growing into this space.
that perspective feels very different,
Much calmer,
much kinder to yourself.
and much more aligned with how real growth actually works.
Which makes me think about something else that often happens after the first few days.
What's that?
The moment when something small changes.
Small?
Yes, maybe you understand a joke without effort.
Or you explain something more easily than before,
Or someone asks you for help instead.
and suddenly you realize something quietly shifted.
That moment is powerful.
Because it shows that fluency isn't a distant destination,
It's something slowly forming while you're living your daily life.
which means the first day wasn't a test.
It was the beginning of that process.
And that realization opens the door for something interesting.
What's that?
The moment when learners stop focusing on sounding perfect.
And start focusing on communicating.
And that shift might be one of the most important turning points in English learning.
Yes, because once communication becomes the priority,
Fluency starts catching up naturally.
and that's something we should probably explore next.
You know, after everything we talked about today, something becomes very clear to me.
What's that?
The first day at work is rarely about the job itself.
Yeah, It's more about what happens inside your head,
The pressure,
the comparison,
the feeling of slow progress.
and that quiet vulnerability of speaking in a language that still feels new.
But at the same time, it's also where real growth begins.
Exactly, because growth doesn't start when you feel ready,
It starts when you show up anyway,
when you try to understand,
when you ask questions.
when you participate, even if your fluency isn't perfect yet.
And if you're listening to this right now and remembering your own first day,
Maybe feeling that pressure again.
just know that you're not the only one who felt that way.
Not even close.
Every confident speaker you meet today once had their own awkward first day somewhere,
Their own slow progress.
their own moments of vulnerability.
And those moments didn't stop their fluency from building.
They were actually part of building it,
And that's exactly what this podcast is about.
helping you grow your English in a calm way,
Not through pressure,
but through understanding,
through reflection.
through real conversations about mindset and English learning.
So if today's episode helped you feel a little more confident,
Or maybe just a little less alone in your journey.
take a moment to subscribe to the Lantern English podcast here on YouTube.
Because every episode is designed to help your listening, your fluency, and your confidence grow step by step.
And we'd really love to hear from you.
In the comments, write this sentence.
My first day was harder than I expected.
You'll probably be surprised by how many people feel the same way.
And if you look at your screen right now, you'll see another episode waiting for you.
In that conversation, we'll talk about something that many English learners experience at night: why your mind keeps replaying conversations in English.
And how that habit is secretly connected to your fluency and confidence.
So don't stop here. Keep listening.
Keep building.
And we'll see you in the next episode of the Lantern English Podcast.